Have you ever noticed how some leaders seem to always be one step behind? They're constantly reacting, putting out fires, constantly snapping to the first solution that comes to mind. It's like they're operating on autopilot. And here's the thing. I used to be one of them. Every meeting, crisis, and decision, my team looked to me, and I felt like I had to snap into a solution mode instantly. Sound familiar? But what I discovered changed everything about how I lead. I realized I was living my entire leadership on autofocus. Yes, I'm using a camera analogy, and it was killing my team's potential. See, in the world of cameras, there's this handy feature we all know, autofocus. It's quick and convenient, and it snaps instantly, whatever you need in focus on camera. But here's what a professional photographer knows. When precision matters, when you need to capture something truly intentionally, you don't rely on autofocus, you shift to manual focus. And the same is true for leadership. Today I'm going to show you why the leadership playbook that got you promoted might be the one that's holding you back now. And I'm going to walk you through how to shift from what I call autofocus leadership, that reactive autopilot mode, to manual focus leadership, where you lead with curiosity and intention. Because here's the truth, every single time you jump in with an answer instead of asking the right question, you're accidentally training your team to stop thinking. And you're creating dependency instead of capacity. In today's world, that's not just ineffective, it's also dangerous. But before we dive in, let me tell you why this matters so much right now. The world of leadership has fundamentally changed. Organizations are moving faster than ever, adopting new technologies, which makes more complex problems. And the leaders who succeed are no longer the ones who have all the answers. They're the ones who know how to unlock the answers already inside their teams. I've worked with hundreds of mid to senior level leaders who've made the shift, and the results are remarkable. Teams that were once passive become innovative, and leaders who were once overwhelmed become strategic. And it all starts with understanding the difference between autofocus and manual focus. So let's break it down. The autofocus leadership trap. Most leaders operate like a camera on autofocus, quick, convenient, snapping instantly into whatever seems most urgent or most obvious. And I get it. When you're in back-to-back meetings, your inbox is overflowing, and everyone's looking to you for answers, autofocus feels efficient. It feels like leadership. Here's the thing most leaders don't realize, though. Just like autofocus in photography can hunt and constantly refocus the image, creating instability, autofocus leadership can create chaos. Let me paint a picture for you. Your team comes to you with a problem. Maybe it's a conflict with a client or a project that's falling behind. And then what happens? Your brain immediately zooms in on what you think the solution should be. And you give answers, solve the problem. Everyone moves on. Seems efficient, right? Wrong. You just missed an opportunity to develop your team's problem-solving muscles. You just reinforced that they need to come to you instead of thinking for themselves. And you just became the bottleneck. Congrats. Here's what's really happening in that moment. You're operating on cognitive autopilot. You're relying on pattern recognition instead of fresh observation, and your brain is saying, oh, I've seen this before. Here's what worked last time. You're snapping to a solution without really seeing what's right in front of you. Research shows when leaders default to answer-giving mode, they're not problem-solving, they're actually destroying psychological safety and innovation. Because every time you're the answer person, you're sending the message, I don't trust you to figure it out. I'm the expert here. Your job is to execute, not think. And your team hears that message loud and clear. I see it time and time again with leaders that I work with, and oftentimes see it in myself when I fall in the trap. Let's say you're exhausted or burned out or feeling like you're carrying the weight of every single decision. And when you dig into it, chances are you discover you've accidentally created a culture where the team waits for direction instead of taking initiative. One leader I worked with, we'll call her Sarah, was a VP at a tech company. Very talented, passionate leader who worked her way up as an individual contributor to a leader. And now she was drowning. Her team would come to her with every little thing. Sarah, should we use this font or that font? Sarah, how should we handle this email? Sarah, what do you think about this approach? And Sarah, being the expert she was, would answer every single question quickly and efficiently. She thought she was being a good leader. But what was really happening is that her team was becoming incapable, less capable, unable to make decisions. They were becoming order takers, not thinkers, and Sarah was becoming the single point of failure for her entire department. That's the autofocus leadership trap. And if you're feeling exhausted, if your team seems to lack initiative, if you're constantly putting out fires, you might be stuck in it too. But here's the good news. There's another way. The manual focus alternative. Manual focus leadership means slowing down. It means turning the lens carefully until the real issue comes crystal clear into view. You're not relying on default assumptions. You're tuning in with intention. When professional photographers need precision, when they're shooting in challenging conditions, when the automatic system might focus on the wrong element, they switch to manual. In fact, most professional photographers prefer and insist on manual. They take control. They make intentional choices about what deserves focus and how the shot should be. That's exactly what we need to do as leaders. In leadership, this means not just snapping to assumptions or letting conversations run on autopilot. Instead, it's about being curious and noticing the nuances, bringing every interaction into focus with real care. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Same scenario. Your team comes to you with a problem, but this time, instead of immediately providing a solution, you pause. You take a breath and you create space. Maybe don't sigh like that, but certainly take a breath. And then you ask, what do you think is really going on here? What have you already tried? What would success look like? What's your instinct telling you? Suddenly you're not solving the problem, you're developing their capacity and capability to solve it themselves. You're not the bottleneck, you're the catalyst. The fascinating part is that when you do this, you often discover the problem they actually brought to you isn't a real problem. Going back to Sarah, the VP I mentioned earlier, when she shifted from autofocus to manual focus, the next time her team came with a question, instead of immediately answering, she said, "What do you think we should do?" And you want to know what happened? Silence, uncomfortable silence. Because her team wasn't used to being asked. They were used to being told. But she waited. She stayed curious, and eventually one of the team members spoke up with an idea, then another. And within 5 minutes, they'd come up with a solution that actually was better than what Sarah would have suggested. That's the power of manual focus leadership. But here's what makes this even more powerful. When you lead this way, you're not just solving problems today, you're building tomorrow's problem solvers. You're creating a team that doesn't fall apart the moment you're not there, and you're multiplying your leadership impact. Research backs this up. Studies show that teams led by inquiry-based leaders, leaders who ask questions instead of giving answers, have higher engagement, faster innovation, better retention, and more strategic thinking. But most leaders will never make this shift. And you want to know why? Because it feels slower. It feels less efficient. It feels like you're not doing your job. But that's the illusion of autofocus. It feels fast in the moment, but it's actually slowing down your entire organization. Now, if you're recognizing yourself in the autofocus leadership pattern and you want to go deeper into the specific questions that transform teams, I've written extensively. In fact, I wrote a book about this. You can find a link to the description below. It's a comprehensive guide to inquiry-based leadership and the question lens method that I teach leaders around the world. And while you're at it, I built a free assessment called the Leadership Curiosity Index. 6 minutes, 5 dimensions. Most leaders are surprised by what they find. Link in the description. Take it, then come back. It'll change how you hear the rest of this video. So how do you actually make this shift? How do you move from autofocus to manual focus in your day-to-day leadership? Well, this is where the question lens method comes into play. Just like adjusting a camera lens, there's a specific technique for bringing leadership conversations into sharper focus through inquiry. And it starts with 3 simple steps. 1, slow down. Resist the urge to snap. Trust me. Take a breath. Create space. This is harder than you might think, especially when you're trying to be the person with all the answers. But the pause is where the magic happens. When someone brings you a problem, your first instinct is probably to solve it immediately. But that's autofocus. Manual focus means pausing and asking yourself, what's really needed here? Step 2, get curious. Ask yourself, what am I not seeing here? What assumptions am I making? What would I discover if I instead ask a question instead of told? And here's what I've discovered. The quality of your leadership is directly proportional to the quality of your questions. Poor questions, poor outcomes. Powerful questions, powerful outcomes. So what makes a powerful question? It's a question that makes people think, not just respond. It's a question that opens up possibilities instead of shutting them down. It's a question that transfers ownership instead of creating dependency. For example, did you try this? Is not a powerful question. It's a yes/no question. It's a leading question. You're still in answer mode, just disguised as a question. But you could ask this: what approaches have you considered? It's a powerful question. It assumes they've already been thinking about it. It invites them to share their thinking about it, and it positions them for capacity. Step 3, focus intentionally. Choose your questions like a photographer chooses their focal point. What deserves attention? What needs to come into sharp focus? Not every conversation needs the same type of questions. Sometimes you need questions that build trust. Sometimes you need questions that surface truth. Sometimes you need questions that transfer ownership. The key is being intentional about what type of questions serve the moment. For example, if you're in a one-on-one with a team member who seems disengaged, trust-building question might be like, what's on your mind? Or how are you really doing? If you're in a meeting where everyone's agreeing with you and you sense something's off, a truth surfacing question might be, what are we not talking about? Or what's the risk I'm not seeing? If you're working with someone who keeps coming to you for answers, an ownership transfer question might be, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? Or what do you need from me to move forward? See the difference? Each question brings a different element into focus. And when you master this using the question lens method, you can become skilled at choosing the right question for the right moment. Something remarkable can happen. Your team stops waiting for you to think for them. They start bringing solutions, not just problems. Innovation flourishes. People feel safe to explore ideas. And you, as a leader, get to do what you're actually supposed to be doing: setting vision, removing obstacles, and developing people. Here's what's at stake if you don't make the shift. When you're stuck in autofocus mode, you become the bottleneck. Every decision flows through you. I see this playing out in organizations every day. The leaders who refuse to shift from autofocus to manual focus are the ones losing their best people. In fact, I've lost my best people in that same trap. Because talented people don't want to work for a leader who doesn't trust them to think. They want to work for a leader who actually listens, who will develop them, and who will unlock their potential. On the flip side, leaders who make this shift, who lead with curiosity and inquiry, are the ones who build cultures that outlast their tenure. They're the ones being recognized as visionary leaders. They're the ones your top talent want to work for. But here's what makes this even more urgent. We're entering an era where AI can give us answers faster than any human ever could. So if your value as a leader is just having the answers, you're about to become obsolete. But AI can't do what you do when you shift to manual focus. AI can't build trust. AI can't create psychological safety. AI can't ask the question that unlocks someone's potential. AI can't notice the nuance in someone's tone that tells you there's something deeper going on. That's the work of manual leadership, and that's the work that matters. That's the work that defines great leadership for the next decade. That work is AI-proof. So the question isn't whether you have time to make this shift. The question is, can you afford not to? So let me bring this all together. Leadership isn't about defaulting to autofocus, quick answers, instant solutions, constant problem solving. It's about choosing to focus manually with curiosity and intention every single time. It's about slowing down when everything in you wants to speed up. It's about asking when everything in you wants to tell. It's about developing your team's capacity and capability instead of just solving the problem. And here's what I want you to remember. This isn't about changing your personality or abandoning your expertise. You don't have to become someone you're not. This is about adding a new dimension to how you lead. It's about recognizing this pressure you feel to have all the answers. It's not actually your job. Your job is to unlock the answers already inside your team. Imagine walking into your next team meeting knowing that instead of being the answer person, you're the question person. Instead of solving every problem, you develop people in the room to do so. And instead of creating dependency, you're building capacity. The beautiful thing is this is a learnable skill. Just like a new photographer can learn how to use manual focus, you can learn to lead through inquiry. It takes practice, it takes intention. You don't always get it right, but it's absolutely possible. So here's my challenge to you. The next time someone brings you a problem, pause, take a breath, not a sigh, and instead of giving the answer, ask a question. Just one question, one simple question. See what happens. You might be surprised by what you discover when you focus manually. Now, everything I've shared with you today is just the beginning, because while understanding the difference between autofocus and manual focus leadership is crucial, the real transformation happens when you learn the actual specific framework that helps transform real leadership situations. And that can be found in this book, Ask Like a Leader. There are questions that build trust. There are questions that surface truth, questions that transform ownership, and knowing which question to ask and when separates good leaders from great ones. So if you want to go deeper, if you want to learn more specific framework and techniques, I teach this to leaders around the country. Check out my book, Ask Like a Leader. Ask those questions. The link is in the description below. It's a comprehensive guide to inquiry-based leadership and the question lens method. And if you found this even remotely valuable, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, where are you operating on autofocus or manual focus? And what's one question you could ask this week instead of giving an answer? Thanks for watching. Now go lead with curiosity.